Everybody, I'm Invisiblekatana, and I am doing a little series called Yay or Nay for E3 2016. This will be my, I guess, second episode. I guess it'll be a little mini-series or whatever. The first one I did was for Days Gone. If you haven't checked that out, if you're interested, I'll put a link in the description for that one. But for this, I wanted to do We Happy Few. I think it's kind of one of the highlights of this year's E3. I think a lot of people, whether you knew about the game beforehand or not, I think it really pulled in a lot of people. I knew about it because of actually because of Jacksepticeye. To be totally honest, I watched him play. I guess it was either alpha. I heard it was actually even like pre-alpha, like the demo that some people actually got early on because it was a Kickstarter thing. So I saw that and I thought it was a cool concept. I was like, all right, it's kind of what we saw, except this, less of the story, was in the Kickstarter really early version of it. It was just like, all right, the world's really crappy. You take your joy, the world kind of looks a little bit better in certain ways. People can't really tell that you're not on joy. Obviously, if you take it, they can't tell that you're kind of sneaking past them or trying to sneak past them at least. So I was like, alright, this is pretty cool. It was kind of, at least for that early demo, it seemed like it was just get from point A to point B sort of thing. And like I said, I thought it was a fun concept. And then, seeing the story trailer, it was really cool. And I was like, of course, the rat thing, like everybody, I was like, that was like number one. That was it right there. Like, that was super freaking great. So I'm excited for the game. I did watch an actual developer interview. I watched it. Pretty much all the interviews I saw have been from like IGN, and I think I saw one from like one other place. But I actually went to IGN for all of these, and they said a lot of things that I thought were pretty interesting. So I have a couple of notes written down. The first thing I want to talk about, because I did not know who made this, but apparently it's by the makers of Contrast, which I love that game. That's a great freaking puzzle game. It, oddly enough, kind of like this, it's set in, its style is made in like a certain era, so I thought that was really cool. It's sort of it's a 1920s style game, and it's really great. I love that game. It was like the first game I ever beat doing like a let's play or whatever. It was like a year ago or so I did that, and I love that game. It's a great puzzle game, and it uses shadow because you can play as a shadow character to, you manipulate things and then you go into the shadow, basically, version of yourself, and then you can jump on the shadows. And I thought, this is a really fun game. I love the music. It has one of the best, like, opening themes in any video game ever. Like, when you start the game up, this is one of the best songs ever. I love this song. And it was a great puzzle game. I love that game. It was a really fun experience. Probably like 5-6 hour little game. But that was a great game. And when the guy mentioned, like, when we did Contrast or whatever, I was like, holy crap. Unless he was talking about a totally different Contrast. It was just a really fun game. I really loved that. So that was something I'd say if you haven't played Contrast, if you like puzzle games, I'd highly recommend it. And 20 style stuff. It's on Steam. Check out the trailer. That's what made me get it. I saw the trailer on Steam, and I was like, I need to buy this game. Like, that was it. That's all I'd seen, and I was like, I'm gonna buy this, and I bought it right then. And then I don't think I played it for like 8 months or something, of course, because it was on Steam. But that gave me really high hopes because I already loved that game, and I was already excited for this. And then that, kind of like Platinum Games, like if I hear their name on something, it's automatic that I'll enjoy it. But it was a really good game. So if you haven't seen that and you want to kind of get a feel for the type of gameplay that they have, at least puzzle-wise, because there was no combat in it, I would highly recommend checking it out because it's a really great game. As far as this game for We Happy Few, one of the really big things is that it has procedurally generated worlds, or it's a procedurally generated world. It has multiple little communities within this world, so you have sort of the crappy version where no one is on joy, so it doesn't really matter, and everyone's kind of just like in a desolate, it seems like they're on like floating islands from the little demo I saw. And so it's like they're on like this desolate little island thing, which also happens to be something they like to do because they have that in Contrast as well. And it was just interesting. Like, all these people, like, nobody's on joy. Everybody looks down in the dumps. All their clothes are really messed up. The buildings look like they've been through like fires and riots, and they're just destroyed. You can just walk through a building because they're all messed up. And then across this bridge, there is, like the happy town. It still doesn't look perfect if you're not on joy, but if you take the joy, everything looks really great. It was really funny. They actually had a double rainbow in there when the guy took the joy, so that I thought was pretty funny. And it looked really cool. It was very interesting, but every time you die, it changes. Then I thought that was actually pretty cool. And the reason it changes every time you die actually is because they have permadeath in this game. And they said the way that they do it is you you don't die necessarily. Like, you get knocked out and then you wake up and you're in a dying state. And so that's how they do it, whereas like you have your chance to kind of escape when you're in the dying state. Even the people that were coming after you to kill you, they give you a bit of a breather. They don't really mess with you, and that allows you to escape and, like, bandage yourself up or take, eat food or whatever, and it'll actually let you heal yourself. And that way you don't have to die and like start all over, because they say like it's permadeath. Once you die, you start all the way over. I read in the comments, but I didn't hear this actually in the interview itself unless I missed it, but someone in the comments mentioned that the permadeath is actually optional. So I thought that was kind of cool as well. If you don't really want to do something like that, you just want to kind of keep going, you can do that. But it's procedurally generated, so every time you start over, you might run into a totally different mission compared to when you played through the first time. Like, if you go left, you might run into a different character, and they'll send you on a different mission, stuff like that. So I thought that was actually really cool. They actually said how long the game is meant to be. The interviewer asked him, and he actually answered it's about 6 to 9 hours, they said, with people learning the curves and dying and stuff like that, and starting over and everything. So it's about 6 to 9 hours. So I'd probably say it's closer to the 6 hour range if you don't have, I would assume, permadeath, if that really is optional. I would say it's closer to probably like the 6 hour range. But I thought that was pretty cool, and they mentioned that there are actually going to be other characters that they kind of focus on throughout the story as well. It's kind of like just different people in different situations at the same time, sort of deal. And they didn't touch too much on that, so as I was watching, I still wasn't 100% sure if he meant through the main story or if that was going to be something they did later on through DLC or what. But they mentioned that there would be other characters, so I thought that was really cool. Like I said, I really enjoyed the sort of creepy, weird vibe of the world. It's very fun. I am curious, what the main point of the story is going to be outside of him just escaping. What's the goal going to be? Because it starts off, and this is in the actual demo shown at E3, he kind of he snaps out of it because he sees this newspaper about him and his brother. And during the interview that I saw, I actually paused it and I read the whole article, and it mentioned that his brother was like fairly socially awkward. Like, his brother didn't really like to talk with strangers, and you could tell in the picture his brother was kind of like holding on to him, and he's the main character, I believe. Arthur is the main character. I think it's Arthur in Percival. I can't remember who is who, but we play as the older brother, and it made me wonder, maybe his brother was taken away because he was socially awkward, considering it's a world where people have to be on this crazy drug, and they let people like eat dead rats and little crazy stuff like that. It didn't seem too far of a stretch where it's like maybe they took his brother because he was socially awkward, and they have like weird society type things where it's like you have to be perfect, plus you have to be on joy, like you can't have any defects or anything like that, and you have to take this crazy drug to make you really happy. So I feel like that might be a part of the story where he's trying to figure out where did they take his brother. They kind of mentioned that a little bit in the demo as well, where he talks about the random woman that hadn't shown up for a couple of days, like, where is she? And he goes to her office and is like, you're not coming back, are you? So I think that might be a part of the game where we have to find out, where do people go when they don't get more joy? Like, when they find them and don't just inject them like that one guy in the demo, what do they do with them? Where do they take them in society? Do they always dump them on the island, or do they take them somewhere else and maybe kill them? Something, crazy like that. So invested in the story for sure. Definitely loved the creepy, crazy, always happy mask sort of deal with the 60s vibe and stuff. Very, of course, very British-like, the way they have it and everything. So really excited for this game. Of course, it would be a yay for me. I'm excited for it. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about the demo that they showed at E3. If you saw some other interviews, heard some other things, how's that kind of influence you? Of course, simply, are you excited for it or not excited for it? So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.